Hello and welcome back to some tree IDing. I am actually not in the US as of the moment. I'm in France, in northern France, very close to Lille, if you know of that city. And I've been here for like a month and a half so far, and have been just casually, when I have the time, learning a little bit about their trees that they have here and other plants and animals. And I'm at a cemetery and I'm gonna be looking at this tree here, which is the little leaf linden with a Tilia cordata. It is related to the American linden, but obviously it's native to Europe, not to America. And the way that I was able to ID it as in the same family as American basswood or linden or whatever is based off these bracts things that they have. That's basically the same as what you see on like a basswood in the US. Here's an example of what you might see on an actual tree in terms of having its leaf and then at the same time like the bract, and I think what would be the fruit or flowers. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this is why they're called the little leaf linden, because I mean, these are pretty small leaves. It has the heart shape, sort of, that you see on a lot of, I don't know, lindens, but it's very small. It's got somewhat serrated edges. But yeah, it's got a little bit, it's like a little tiny heart shaped leaf. As for buds, oops, they're kind of reddish brown, and they, as you can see, they don't have a terminal bud. Instead they have their bract and fruit sort of body, unless you want to consider maybe this one as a terminal bud. But they instead they end with that bract, with that leaf, modified leaf. But yeah, the buds are very kind of inconspicuous, and kind of same with the bark. I mean, this is covered with a lot of like lichen. Oh my god, look at all those beetles. Damn, there's a lot of them. I didn't even see them there, but this is a lot of lichen on it, so it's kind of hard to see the bark. All of these trees, I can't really even tell what color the bark is, but it does have these vertical fissures you can kind of make out, but it's not super distinguishable. In terms of some research I did on them, little leaf linden can get to like 1,000 years of age in some places, and if they aren't, I mean, these ones I feel like were probably planted here, but in places like the UK, seeing a very old linden is a sign of what would have been ancient woodland. So I do apologize for all the birds. They are out in full today. Especially, they have these parakeets here called the rose-ringed, I think it's called the rose-ringed parakeets, which are very loud. Very loud. They love to chit-chatter. So thanks to whatever French person thought it would be a good idea to let their pet parakeets go, because now they're just everywhere. But let's keep going. It's just interesting to me why they planted these trees with these sideways poles. So here we have a tree I see everywhere in Lille, which is the London plane tree, or Platanus acerifolia, Platanus acerifolia. I think it's also called Platanus X hispanica or something like that. Or in French, Platen commun, comment? I don't know. Anywho, it's this tree. And when I first got here, I thought this tree was the sycamore. I thought this was an American sycamore tree. And I was like, oh my God, they have so many sycamores here. This is strange. That's not, it's not a French tree. Because it's so similar to the American sycamore. And in fact, it's a hybrid of the American sycamore and the oriental plane. So it is part American sycamore, which would it just explain why it looks so much like that. It's in the plane family, the Platanus family, which they all kind of share similar features. So that also explains why it looks like the American sycamore to me. And it's not like a natural sort of species or whatever. It's a hybrid. So humans did create this tree, the London plane tree. London plane tree. In fact, I'm not entirely sure where it was first created, but there's people who believe it was first made in London. Others research said southern Europe. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get into some sort of debate over was it the French or was it the British, but I couldn't find exactly the origin story of the London plane tree, but certainly it's a very, very popular urban tree, both in Leo and in London and all over the world, really, and is known for being planted all throughout London in particular. But getting into the actual identification of the London plane trees, yeah, they look a lot like the American sycamore. One way to distinguish them is that underneath where the bark is peeling, it is more yellow-ish than the American sycamore, is more white. Additionally, it peels from the bottom of the bark to the tops. If you see American sycamores, they tend to kind of be more rigid in their bark at the bottom, and then they get more flaky at the top. But it has that distinctive flaky bark that you'll see with an American sycamore as well. It also has its seed balls. You can see them on the ground, see them hanging. But one way to distinguish this from both the American sycamore and the oriental plane tree is based off how many seed balls it has. This one's not really a good example because you can see that there's single seed balls, but that one, for example, right there has 3 seed balls. Usually though, there's some that are up there. Usually though, the London plane has 2 seed balls, 2 to 3 seed balls per, I don't know, stem, branch, I don't know what you'd consider it. Whereas the American sycamore usually has more like 1 seed ball, and then the oriental plane will have like 3 or more per stem. So that's another way. It's kind of in the middle of the two since it is a hybrid to distinguish it. And then last but not least, we have these leaves. This is kind of the last feature, which they're pretty big. They look a lot like American sycamore leaves to me. I'm sure there's some subtle difference between them that you could point at, but it's kind of hard to tell. The only way I've really been able to tell the difference between the American sycamore and the London plane is based off A, the number of seed balls, and then B, just location. Like, these are very popular urban trees. American sycamore I don't think would do as well in a urban setting. So, because I'm in a city, in an urban area, and I'm also not in the US, I just go, oh, this is the London plane, not the American sycamore. a interesting tree. Oh, I don't know if it's interesting, but it is the sycamore maple, also called Acer pseudoplantanus or something like that, which is literally maple, Acer maple family, fake plantanus, which was the family we just saw, which was the plane family with the London plane tree and the American sycamore and the oriental plane and other trees of that nature. And the best way I can identify this type of tree is based off these very distinguishable, like bright green terminal buds, or buds in general, was one way that I have been able to identify these sycamore maples. Just moving over to another of the sycamore maples. I'm in another cemetery. I don't know why, but I can't avoid them. But another one of the sycamore maples that are planted here, because the other one you couldn't really see the bark of, but you could see the terminal buds. But this one you can see the bark. Maybe you can understand why it's called the sycamore maple in terms of the bark, because the bark kind of, it's flaky as well, similar to sycamores. In fact, I think in Europe they could just refer to this as the sycamore. I don't know which one was named first, if it was American sycamore named first or if the sycamore maple was named first. I have no idea. But either way, it's kind of confusing because when I think of sycamore, I think of the American sycamore, but that might be different if you live in Europe. Here's another sycamore maple. You can really see that flaky bark is giving sycamore to me, but it's not a sycamore, it's a maple. But I'm still looking for a leaf because the leaves also look like sycamore leaves. I think I found some over here. Maybe this one? It's small, but it does kind of look like a mini version of kind of like a sycamore leaf, right? Yeah. But you could also say that a sycamore leaf looks like a maple leaf because that's also true. So yeah, so palmately 5-lobed. Palmate 5-lobed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-lobed leaf. Doesn't really have any serrations, but is obviously kind of like pointy as well for a leaf. And because it's a maple, it's going to be opposite branched. So apparently this is native to France and other parts of Europe, but it's not native to like UK, and it can be a bit invasive there, as well as potentially, because of that, could potentially be invasive in the US because it's very tolerant of just tolerant of a variety of different living conditions. So that's a little bit worrisome as well. Might see more of these in the US. I'm not entirely sure though. But here it's completely fine. You just have some insects like the sycamore moth and the maple prominent that use this as a food source as well, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so this is another kind of sycamore, another one that I got here. I was like, why are there so many trees that look like the American sycamore? Just wanted to finish up that video. I realized I never filmed it out.